As the former head of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration regulating the auto industry, as the former president of Public Citizen, a Ralph Nader advocacy group for over 30 years, I have seen the politics of safety in its rawest form. And what this means is that the special interests, the trucking industry, the auto industry, and so on, they all come in with their own special deals. And they don't want this regulation, they want this regulation weakened. And so safety is like a little football that gets kicked around. And in the end, the only thing that makes a difference are the people. The three most important things I would like people to come away from this video understanding is, one, that the public can play a huge role in truck safety issues, and it has, and it should continue to. And one of the best ways is to do it through the Truck Safety Coalition, because the coalition can tell an individual when it's going to make a big difference if they email their member of Congress or call them or go to a town meeting. The second thing is that there's a lot of improvement that can be made to protect people on the public highway. And we shouldn't just listen to the industry saying, well, we're doing the best we can, or this is all that can be done. No, that's not true. There are so many important improvements, and particularly in truck safety, where the regulations have been weak. And the third issue is that the public voice that comes through to members of Congress and to people in the Department of Transportation. You think they're not hearing it, but they don't like being criticized. They really hate being criticized. And so if you write letters to the editor and saying, my governor has, not supported truck safety, and use his name, he does not like his name in the newspaper, and he doesn't like you, an individual who has no special interest, telling him that. And he doesn't like everyone else to learn it. I don't think there's anything more rewarding in life than trying to save other people's lives. And to me, that's the reason I've done this work. Because I know that there are remedies available. I know that they are not that expensive. I know that they're easy to implement, and I know they'll make a difference.
The Truck Safety Coalition is a national nonprofit organization that works with victims and survivors of large truck crashes. And the reason that the organization is so extremely important is because we're the only organization of our kind in the country, and we speak for those victims and survivors, some of who no longer are alive, and their stories must be told to make our highways safer, to make large trucks safer. The issues that they focus on are the things that we do. Number one is support for other victims and survivors of large truck crash, which is extremely important. The second thing would be legislative issues and where we can make changes and make trucks safer. And the third thing would be that we stop the industry from obtaining laws or legislation that make trucks even more unsafe, and we try to reduce fatalities and injuries in large truck crashes. Another one is electronic onboard recorders. Truck drivers still are allowed to use paper logbooks, which in this day and time in technology is almost it's difficult to believe that they still use paper logbooks, and we want to see all trucks have electronic onboard recorders that will record all sorts of data. Another issue is size and weight. It is an ongoing, never-ending battle. It never stops. The industry continuously wants larger and heavier trucks. Larger and heavier trucks are more dangerous trucks. They're more prone to rollover. It's more difficult for them to stop. And the industry says, well, if we have more bigger, heavier trucks, there'll be less trucks. And it's just such an unequal battle. If your 3,000 or 4,000 pound car hits an 80,000 pound truck, it is a very difficult situation to win. And if they make them heavier, they're going to be more dangerous. Another issue that's very near and dear to my heart are something called underride crashes. When my dad first died, I didn't really know what an underride crash was, and then after he died that way, I thought, oh wow, this is happening a lot. Anytime that they actually put a name to a crash, you know that it's happening a lot. And what underride is where the passenger compartment of a car goes underneath the side or the rear of the trailer. The reason that these crashes are so catastrophic is because really the only thing between you and your upper body and the side of that truck is the windshield. And in the case of rear underride, there is a guard on the rear of a truck, but it's an inadequate guard. It's not energy absorbing, it's not low enough to prevent smaller cars from going under it. So people are having crashes where they're going underneath the rear or the side of the trailer, and they're catastrophic. And other European countries have underride guards. It's something that has been an issue for 27 years that I've been working on it, and the federal government's known it, the industry's known it. We still have never had any kind of standard set for side underride guards, and the rear guard is grossly inadequate. And so that's an issue that we certainly would like to see addressed, and that was the way that my dad died. He hit the side of a trailer, went all the way under it, came out 41 feet on the other side, and died of head injuries, massive head injuries. Another issue that we have is minimum insurance standards. It is unbelievable to me to know that the industry only has to have $750,000 of insurance coverage, yet we have people who lost 5 members of their family at one time. $750,000, that is an unbelievable amount. It was set approximately 30 years ago, and the Secretary of Transportation has the authority to raise that level, and that level needs to be raised, and that's another thing that we are hoping that happens. Another thing is speed. Speed is a huge factor in crashes, and we would like to see speed regulation where that they have governors on the truck so that they can't go, but so far they have that in other countries, the same as they have underride guards. Why has the United States been so slow in enacting things that would enhance safety for all of us?
Today, the Insider Exclusive goes behind the headlines in Dangerous Truck Safety Challenges to examine how the Truck Safety Coalition, a partnership between Crash, Citizens for Reliable and Safe Highways, and Parents Against Tired Truckers, are working together around the clock to send a clear and compelling message to all Americans and our elected leaders across the country that the passage of cost-effective and life-saving traffic safety laws is critical and long overdue. This is the Insider Exclusive from Washington, D.C.
It is my great honor and pleasure to introduce Joan Claybrook to the show. Welcome to the show, Joan.
Thank you.
Tell our audience a little bit about your background, because you have been immersed in safety for the last 40 years.
Well, I worked on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress on the auto safety legislation that was sparked by Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, and it got enacted. Then I worked in the Department of Transportation. Then I worked for Ralph Nader and was an outside advocate pushing for safety. Then I went back to the Department of Transportation and became the administrator and issued the rules and regulations, including airbags for safety. And ever since the 1980s, I've been an outside advocate again.
Mm-hmm. Today we're here talking about a coalition called the Truck Safety Coalition. Tell our audience a little bit about what they do, who they are.
Oh, it's a coalition of various organizations and victims of truck safety crashes that get together and work to improve truck safety, whether it's at the Department of Transportation, whether it's the United States Congress, whether it's informing the public through media and publicity about why truck safety is so important. The Truck Safety Coalition was formed in 1990 because the trucking industry was pushing for larger trucks. And we thought that they were big enough, in fact, too big.
And when we're talking about large trucks, you've got a huge machine riding down the road.
Well, it's like a train on the highway.
Yeah.
Right. And so they wanted to have larger trucks, and we decided as citizen advocates that this was too much.
Yeah.
And so we started working for a freeze, to freeze the size and weights as they were, because these triple and double trailers were only in some states, but not in most. And we actually got it enacted into law, and that was the beginning of Crash.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the other mission objectives of Crash right now?
Well, a key issue is fatigue.
Right.
Truck drivers are very tired. They drive 11 hours under the current laws, mm-hmm. and they can work 14. They don't get paid for the extra hours over 11 that they actually load and unload trucks.
Right.
And it's really too much too much for anybody.
Right. How can the public, you're an advocacy organization, but how can the public help your organization obtain some of these better safety results that we're all looking for?
Well, one thing they can do is to join the organization, which is a really important thing to do. Secondly, if they've ever been involved in a truck crash, they can contact the organization and tell us their story. And we do have meetings once a year called Sorrow to Strength,
Right.
which goes from the sadness of the crash to being strong in trying to lobby Congress and the Department of Transportation to issue stronger rules.
Right. It really does a lot of good to contact your elected representatives to voice your opinion, right?
It does, but it's even more effective if it's done in an organized way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason we have an organization, is to try and guide people as to when a particular bill is being considered
Yeah.
or a particular decision is going on at the Department of Transportation, so that is your contact with them is most effective.
Right.
So that's why we ask the public to contact the Truck Safety Coalition.
We have with us today some other members of their board members we have Jennifer Tyranny and Jackie Gillen. We're going to bring them on right now so they can add a little more insight about what your organization and all these organizations are doing to improve truck safety. So we'll bring them on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Jennifer Tyranny and Jackie Gillen to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell our audience, Jennifer, a little bit about yourself, and then Jackie, a little bit about what you do. You're a board member on CRASH, right?
I am a CRASH board member. I'm from North Carolina, and 29 years ago my dad was killed in a crash involving a large truck.
Mm-hmm.
It was a devastating experience, and he was on a rural road in North Carolina, and he hit the side of a tractor trailer that was backing into a field to park. He went underneath the side, came out 41 feet on the other side, and died about 20 minutes later of massive head injuries.
Mm. How about yourself, Jackie?
Well, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been in Washington, D.C. now for about 35 years. My background is as a transportation professional. I've worked for 3 state Department of Transportations and the U.S. Department of Transportation, but I've always had a passion for the safety issues, and I decided about 30 years ago in my career that I really wanted to use my skills and talents and knowledge about transportation to advance transportation safety. And it's really a major public health and safety issue. And there really wasn't a voice in Congress or in national public policy advocating for advanced truck safety measures. And I really wanted to get involved in that.
Yeah. When you say it's a major public health safety issue, for our audience, explain why it is.
This costs our society about $42 billion a year.
A lot of that is medical cost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the costs are enormous to the families like Jennifer and her family when her father was killed, as well to all the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had an airline crash every week, you can imagine what kind of response we would have from our political leaders and the public. They would be decisive, they would be swift. And yet every week we're losing that many people in motor carrier crashes.
The same as if a plane was crashing each week.
Absolutely.
People think that this is something random, but they're preventable crashes.
Yeah.
And you know, the families, you're just so shocked and numbed, and they're catastrophic crashes.
Yeah.
And my involvement with CRASH has been because I wanted to make a difference. I didn't want another family to go through what my family has been through. And I can think of no better way to honor someone that's been lost in a crash like that than to try to prevent it from happening to others.
And tell our audience a little bit, besides the safety objectives, the CRASH organization also has people who are involved with comforting those that have gone through similar experience like your own. What is that exactly, and how do you do it?
We formed a first response team, and the purpose is to comfort and to offer assistance to families who have lost a loved one in a crash, or they themselves or family members have been injured in a truck crash.
And what does that assistance mean exactly?
Well, we offer them a lot of comfort in knowing that other people understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different emotions in those first few weeks after this happens. You're not sure. You go from grief to anger to not understanding what happened.
Yeah.
And while you are trying to adjust to what's going to become your new normal. Life is going on around you.
Yeah.
And we also help families, in addition to comfort and helping to understand some of the things that they may need to do, we also allow them an avenue to work through that grief and to try to do something to make it better.
What are some of the things that you have done over the last 29 years involved with this group?
Probably the thing that I'm most proud of and that I know has saved lives and prevented injuries was when my dad was killed. There was no reflective tape on the trucks or the trailer at that time, and I worked with the Truck Safety Coalition, Crash, worked with others, and we got reflective tape mandated that all tractor trailers have to have the reflective tape that we all see when we're on the highways now. And the purpose of that is it makes the truck more visible.
Yeah.
When my dad came around the curve and the truck was in a jackknife position, there was no reflective tape, and the lights that were on the trailer were not operating. He had no opportunity to see that it was blocking his lane of road and to try and stop. And so it took 10 years, but it was a very positive accomplishment. I worked with other family members who had lost loved ones in underride crashes. And underride is where the car goes under the side or the rear of the trailer, and worked with someone that had been seriously injured.
Right.
And so we know that it saved lives and it's prevented injuries.
We have two other people with us today who are advocates for safety, Daphne Iser
Yes.
and Don King. So let's bring them on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Daphne Iser and Don King to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Both of you are advocates for safety in the trucking industry. You are the co-founder of an organization. Pat, tell our audience a little bit about that.
Parents Against Tired Truckers was formed following the death of our son and his 3 friends.
Yeah.
They were in the breakdown lane, 18-wheeler, driver fell asleep, ran over top the car. So I guess out of grief, anger, and hope for the future, we formed Parents Against Tired Truckers.
Right.
And we quickly realized how fatigue was a big problem in the trucking industry. And we're not against truck drivers.
Right. You're not anti-truck.
We're not anti-trucking.
Right.
In fact, we have a lot of truck drivers on our side because they know what we're about. We can speak out for them where they cannot.
Now, Dawn, you are a board member of Crash, right?
Treasurer.
And tell our audience a little bit about what you do, your board's missions, and that sort of thing.
Our purpose is to provide support for the victims. We have a 2-pronged purpose.
Yeah.
One is to provide support for the victims, give them a place to talk to someone where they know that they're being understood and they're talking to someone that's been in their position, because all of us have lost loved ones or been injured in truck crashes.
Yeah.
And also to work on changing some of the laws that are out there, doing some advocacy in order to make the highway safer for everybody. So we have a sort of a 2-pronged.
Right. There are thousands of people that have been killed over the years on the highway, and many, many more people that are permanently injured.
Up to 100,000 each year injured.
Yeah. You and your fellow board members and advocates have taken it upon yourself to be advocates, safety advocates. You take your time. You're not paid for this.
Oh no. I think it's
why do you
because,
do it?
Yeah, we do that because if we have to put that grief and that anger somewhere.
Yeah.
And so this is a way to turn that into something positive. Almost universally, every family that we work with that comes to the Sorrow to Strength conference or calls us says, I want to do something to make a difference so that another family doesn't go through what we're going through. Now, you and I know that we can't fix everything, and there will always be another family.
Right.
But our purpose is to make there less families, fewer people that get that call that turns your world upside down.
I am very happy that we have done this show. We've listened to some of your other board members and Joan and Jennifer, and we have heard the mission and the objectives, and especially now that we hear about the compassion level, the identification, because that's what helps people, and that's the message that we'd like to send out. Not only should there be changes, and you have to fight for changes, but also the fact that there's somebody there with a heart, with a listening ear that can help someone get through these tough times. And I want to thank both of you very much for being on the program. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.